Okay, so this is difficult. Really difficult. I've been sitting on this for months, trying to work out how to even begin, how to put into words the raw storm that my life has become. But I guess, here goes. My grandmother, my amazing, incredible Grandma Rose, passed away last year. And when her will was read, everything turned. I mean, everything. She left me, her youngest grandchild, her entire legacy. And now my parents look at me like I'm a stranger. Like I'm an enemy. They hate me. And I don't know if our family will ever heal. You know those movie grandmothers? The ones with the warm, crinkly smiles and the never-ending cookie jar? That was my Grandma Rose. But she was more than that. She was my anchor, my haven. My parents, they were always busy. Always chasing something. Success, status, the next big thing. My dad, a real estate developer, was always on the phone building his empire. My mom, a high-powered marketing executive, lived and died deadlines. They loved me, I'm sure they did, in their own way. But with them, the excitement was always a to-do list, something to be fit in between the board of directors and fundraisers. Grandma Rose, though, she had time. All the time in the world for me. Her house, a warm, slightly rambling Victorian with a porch swing that creaked just so, was my refuge. It smelled like lavender, old books, and the faint, comforting smell of whatever she'd been baking. I visited Grandma's every Saturday from age 5 until I left for college. It was our tradition. We'd cook, most frequently her famous apple pie, the recipe written in her own hand on a yellow index card. We'd garden, her fingers gnarled and twisted and strong, teaching me the name of every flower, every herb. We'd sit on that porch swing, sipping iced tea in the summer, watching the world go by, and she'd tell me stories. Stories about her childhood, about my grandpa, about the wild, beautiful things she'd seen and done. She was the one who encouraged my art. My parents, bless their practical hearts, saw my drawing as a hobby, a distraction. You need a real career, sweetie, my mother would urge, nudging me toward business or law. But Grandma? She gave me my very first actual set of oil paints. She taped my lopsided landscapes and scrawled abstracts to her fridge, then later framed them and put them up on her living room walls. She'd sit with me for hours, just watching me draw, her presence a silent, unwavering affirmation. "You've got a gift, darling," she'd say, her voice gravelly with age. "Don't let anyone ever tell you otherwise." She knew I had it, like it was the most ordinary thing in the world. It was the wellspring of my own confidence. My parents had a fraught relationship with Grandma, though. She was their mother, of course, but there was always this undertow. A fight that I couldn't verbalize as a kid, but one that I strongly sensed. My dad would say she was frugal, but the way he'd say it, it sounded more like obstinate cheap. My mom would grumble about Grandma's old-fashioned ways, most of all that she wouldn't relocate to a newer, smaller house. They'd visit, usually on holidays, and sooner or later the topic of money would arise. "Mom, did you ever think about setting up a trust?" My dad would say so innocently, and Grandma would smile and change the topic to the weather or tomatoes skyrocketing in price. My mom would chime in, "It's all for your own good, Rose. To protect your assets." Grandma just patted their hands and said, "My assets are doing just fine, dear. They've taken care of me the entire time." I remember one Thanksgiving many years ago. My parents had been talking about their plans to renovate their kitchen, a massive, expensive undertaking. My father, jokingly, remarked, "Maybe Grandma will kick in. She's got plenty put away." Grandma simply chuckled, a dry, self-satisfied chuckle, and replied, "My money is for living, not for show." The room was thick with tension. My mom changed the subject right away, but I caught the spark in their eyes of frustration mixed with something else, something that seemed to be expectation. Grandma started to get older. Her health declined steadily, then much more rapidly. My parents, where credit is due, were there. They brought in nurses, provided for everything she needed. But for all that, there was this silent flip. The conversations about her assets became less casual, more pointed. My dad started talking about estate planning more frequently. My mom would drop hints about how responsible it would be for Grandma to get her affairs in order for everyone's peace of mind. They'd often ask me, almost too casually, if Grandma had ever mentioned anything about her will to me. I'd always say no, because she hadn't. No. She'd just say to me, "I've got all this under control, sweetheart. You worry your pretty head." But I started noticing the way their eyes lingered a little longer on her antique furniture, her first edition set of novels, the soft hiss of their whispers when they were sure that I wasn't looking. It made me nervous. Like they were counting chickens already, and Grandma was still very much a hen. Then there was the call. The one you don't want to take. Grandma Rose had died peacefully in her sleep. It was a Tuesday morning. The world just stopped. The grief was a weight, suffocating me. She was gone. My anchor. My confidant. The one who saw me, really saw me. The funeral was a blur of sympathetic faces and stifled condolences. My parents were tough, obstinate, in charge. I just felt numb, an empty ache where her presence had been. 2 weeks went by and the lawyer phoned. Mr. Henderson, a kind, elderly man who had done Grandma's business for decades. He summoned us in to listen to the will. My parents, my older brother Mark, and I were sitting in his lavish, slightly dusty office. Tension hung in the air, a mix of sadness and something else. My parents sat as straight as could be, their faces formally blank, but I could feel their anticipation emanating from them. Mark, pragmatist that he is, just looked bored, probably thinking about his next business move. I simply wanted it to be over. I wanted to go home and curl up in a blanket and box of tissues. Mr. Henderson cleared his throat, pushed his glasses down onto the bridge of his nose, and began to read. He read some small bequests, a particular antique clock to some distant cousin, a small sum to her church, a donation to the local animal shelter that she adored. My parents exchanged quick, almost furtive glances. Then he paused, took a sip of water, and continued. And to my beloved son, Robert, and my beloved daughter-in-law, Susan, he read, his voice firm, I leave my gratitude for their kindness in my declining years, and a bequest of $50,000 each. My dad stiffened. My mom's jaw tightened. 50,000? That was not what they'd been hoping for. Not for a kitchen renovation, anyway. I saw the flash of disappointment, hastily concealed by a strained smile. Mark shrugged unconcerned, probably figuring it was more than he was willing. Then I was addressed by Mr. Henderson. My heart skipped a beat strangely. And to my dearest granddaughter, Maya, he continued, his voice lowering only a fraction, who had brought such light, joy, and understanding into my life, who had looked at the world with eyes as questioning and alive as mine, and who had always shown me the simple beauty of things. I bequeath the remainder of my estate, including my house at 14 Elmwood Lane, all its contents, my investment accounts, my savings accounts, and any other asset in my name, to be hers and hers alone. The words just hung there, heavy and immovable. My breath caught. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. Silence. A deafening, suffocating silence. Then my mom's voice, cold and incredulous. What? My father sprang up from the chair, his face a portrait of indignant disbelief. What are you saying, Mr. Henderson? Did you even read it correctly? Mr. Henderson remained calm, unflappable. It's perfectly clear, Robert. The will was altered 6 months ago, and Mrs. Rose was in sound body and mind. Everything is fine. He indicated a page on his desk. She even left a personal letter to Maya, to be read later. I was paralyzed. My head was reeling. All of it? The house? Her savings? Grandma, my quiet, reserved grandma, had just done this? My parents were looking at me, their faces searing with a combination of shock, betrayal, and something rather ugly. It was as if a switch had been turned. That carefully built veneer of niceness dissolved into 1,000 shards. Maya, what have you done? My mother hissed, poison in her voice. Did you prank her? Did you lie to her? My father slammed his fist onto the table. This is preposterous. She was elderly, frail. You must have cheated. Tears seared my eyes, burning and blinding. No, I didn't know. I swear. My voice shook. A wave of nausea washed over me. This was not happening. This could not be happening. Mark, who'd been silent, finally spoke, his voice tinged with cynical sarcasm. Well, little sister. Looks like you hit the jackpot. His words were like another slap. I accepted the letter Mr. Henderson handed to me, my hands shaking so much I could hardly hold onto it. I stumbled from the office, my parents' voices echoing in my mind, their faces contorted with rage. I could still hear them, yelling at Mr. Henderson, their voices muffled through the shutting door. I had to get a breath. I drove home in a daze, the letter crumpled up in my hand. My mind was a mess of confusing thoughts. Grandma, why? Why me? Why all of this? The guilt came immediately, overwhelming. I felt as though I'd stolen something, when all along I'd had no idea. And my parents' faces. It was a face that I'd never before seen directed my way. Pure, unadulterated anger. The weeks that followed were hell on earth. My parents phoned, not to congratulate me, not to grieve, but to scream, to rave. I had to sell the house, they said, that I divided the money evenly. It's only fair, Maya, my mother screamed over the phone. We're your parents. We raised you. That money is ours. My father even went so far as to threaten legal action on grounds of undue influence, although Mr. Henderson had already made sure that everything was within the law and Grandma was compos mentis. They portrayed me as a manipulative, greedy monster. I tried to explain, to reason with them, but they would not listen. They had been swept up in their anger. Every argument concluded with a screaming match, which was always completed by them hanging up the phone on me, or me doing likewise, in tears, with tears running down my face. Mark took their side, of course, since I was the one who was in the wrong in his eyes. I was completely alone. My family, the people who were supposed to love me no matter what, hated me. I read Grandma's letter last. The page was filled with her own unique, elegant script. My dearest Maya, if you're reading this, it's because I've made it home. And you've heard something about the news of my will. I know this may be a shock, and I know it will make some waves. But I want you to know why I've made this decision. Your parents, God rest their souls, were never as driven as you or me. They're interested in things, status, and what the world thinks. And they've always assumed my home, my money, were somehow due them, a recompense for their own efforts, or perhaps a salvation of their ongoing exploits. But you, my daughter, you were different from that. You never wanted anything. You only asked for my time, my stories, myself. You loved the magic in a still afternoon, the joy in a fresh pie from the oven. You listened. You actually listened. You have a good heart, Maya, a kind and creative heart, and I could see how you struggled to find your place in a world that sometimes prizes money over passion. I did not want my inheritance to be wasted on another kitchen renovation or a new technology-packed automobile. I wanted it to be wasted as a launching pad for your dreams. I wanted to give you the space to hone your craft, to live a life that nourishes your soul to the fullest, free from the constant strain of becoming what others believe you ought to be. This is not, Maya, about hurting them, but uplifting you. It's a matter of providing you with the liberty to flourish in your entirety, without having to worry about money or sacrifice yourself. My dearest hope is that you do something amazing with this gift. Not just for you, but to share kindness, to create beauty, to live life on purpose and with joy. And never forget, my dear, money can purchase a house, but not a home. Home is built on love, laughter, and acceptance. Hold that dearly. I love you, my courageous girl. More than words can say. Always. Grandma rose upon reading her words. A wave of understanding and then another wave of tears washed over me. It wasn't revenge. It was love. Her love for me. Her desire to protect me, to give me an opportunity she knew my parents wouldn't. The pain remained, the space where my family used to be, but a new kind of strength began to take root within me. It was painful. God, it still is. My parents don't talk to me anymore, except for angry texts from my mom or curt emails from my father's lawyer. They've cut me off. Just like that. It's like I never existed in their lives. The holidays were agony, alone, or with a few good friends who tried their best to console me. But I'm not crumbling anymore. I'm standing. Grandma's house, my house now, feels like a sanctuary again. I've started setting up a studio in the sunroom, the light pouring in, just like she always said it would be perfect for. I'm taking art classes, exploring new mediums. I'm not just surviving, I'm starting to thrive. It's a painful realization, but I've come to understand that their anger isn't about the money itself. It's about control. It's their narrative of what my life and their legacy should be. And Grandma, in her own quiet, firm way, dissolved that narrative. She gave me room to write my own. And even if it was at the expense of my relationship with my parents, I know, deep down, that Grandma gave me something far more valuable than any inheritance. She gave me myself. She gave me the courage to make my own path, even if it's a lonely one for now. And I'm going to make good on that. If anything similar has happened to you, I'd love to read your experience in the comments. And if this touched a chord in you even a little bit, don't forget to like, subscribe, and switch the bell on.